Hello guys, this is Adam Shadow, and today I have a special video for you because this is the first ever guide on my channel. And this one will be about a mechanic many people are using on servers, but very few actually understand how it works and how to use it. And those are spawners. Spawners in my Minecraft are basically unobtainable in vanilla. But on multiplayer servers, they are very common because it's very hard to make farms for certain mobs because you need to make these farms in a special area. So in Skyblock worlds, faction servers, and other similar places, it's pretty much impossible to farm some mobs. For example, farming guardians on a Skyblock server is basically impossible because you are in some sort of plains biome or something like that, so you cannot just build a large pool of water and they will spawn in there. And they are in other places such as factions, you generally have to sit in a base or some sort of claimed area where you build your farms, and therefore you cannot just make a huge 126 block wide farm. You need to fit it in a few chunks. Therefore, the server admins will allow you to get spawners. So let's go over some of the designs that people use, and I will explain you why some of them are basically not ideal, or in some cases even hurt your efficiency so much that they are not even worth building than using spawners. And these things are very common on such servers. People commonly use them, and they make farms or mob tribes, as some people refer to them. I just call them farms because that's what they basically are. So let me go over some of the common designs people use. You can see this one. This is the most basic design people make. They just make a clump of spawners. Maybe it's not 9, maybe it's like 20 or something. Just a bunch of them close to each other. A wall around, some for water to flush them towards you, and you basically stand here and smack those zombies. This is really far away from an ideal farm. The main problem here is what you can see behind me, and that is the area in which the mobs spawn around the spawner. This is 4 blocks into each direction, and X and Z, and 2 blocks. Sorry, 1 block above and 1 block underneath, and of course the layer at which the spawner is. Here you can see that because there are just 3 blocks, or even 2 blocks in this case, from a spawner, here there are 3, a lot of the spawning attempts that would occur will get blocked by the glass. And also the mobs can spawn here outside of this farm, which is also not ideal. Therefore, this farm is much slower than it could be. Let me clear those guys. Let's go to the second design. This is this thing. This is something you would build if you are a bit more advanced, and you probably know this when think about the spawning area. So you basically put your spawners in a straight column upwards. This is great because, as you can see here, you just block the place above and under the spawner. That's a really small percentage of the places where the mobs can spawn. The problem with this one is you don't take into account the fact that spawners check a 9 by 9 by 9 area, so it's not the same area as here, because it's 3 blocks more up and down for the mobs of the same type before they spawn them. Because if there are 6 mobs of the same type around the spawner, he will not spawn new ones. I can maybe show you. Here I have a wither skeleton spawner. I just need to find the wither skeleton. I just put 8 of them, but you can see that these spawners stop working. I'll set it again to night, so you can be sure I'm not just making this up. You can see none of them are spawning anything. Nothing is happening. If I go here, these ones should spawn. Yeah, here we got the first one, second, and so on. And this is a huge problem for spawner-based farms, because that slows them down significantly. You can see, because here are a bunch of zombies. After some time, several of these spawners won't spawn. Actually, so it's like this one won't spawn, this one and this one will at least definitely not spawn. And also, because the mobs are flushed down here, it will also be a very slow method of moving them. Therefore, the time they are moving here on the water, they will block additional spawners here at the top. But this is not a bad farm, and I even made it out of glass, which some of you more advanced technical guys might know that glass is not a solid block or not a solid surface on top. Therefore, mobs won't try to pathfind. So I don't need to make these walls around here like I made there. This is already a pretty acceptable farm. They will die from entity cramming, or you can just put some magma block here or something like that. But it's still much slower than it could be. However, this thing with these areas, you can actually find on the Minecraft wiki. I found it out there, but it was not clear to me how it exactly works. Does the center of the mob have to be in the area, or just the edge of the mob? Like you can see when I turn on the hitboxes, you can see just the center of him is outside, but the part of him is still inside this area. So I decided to do my own testing to find this out. So here we got a spawner for mobs that are larger than 1 block. In this case, those are spiders. And when I place spiders around here, you can see it will stop the mob spawning, even though the just a very small part of the spider is inside this area for the detection. You can see here are 4 blocks. And just this, I don't know, 1/5 maybe of the block is inside, and that still stops all of the spawners. You can see when I remove them, it will start to spawn again. Yeah, there we go. Now I wanted to also know how it's with the height of mobs. You can see these wither skeletons are pretty high. They're more than 2 blocks high. And here in this case, there are 4 blocks in between here. And the spawners spawn without any issues. You can see here are already 7 wither skeletons. The limit is actually 6 mobs. I hope I mentioned that before. You can see it has no issues, it just spawns them. But when I would lower this platform, not lower, but make it 1 block higher, you will see that they will stop spawning. Now there are only 5 of them. Okay, well, let's make this a bit quicker. You can see, no, nothing is spawning. So, as I assumed previously, just the very tip of the mob can stop a spawner from working. Here it's just the top of their heads is basically blocking all of these spawners. So now with this knowledge, it's time I show you how some layouts for spawners to achieve very high efficiency. So let's start with this one. This one I designed for mobs that are less than 1 block size, like these wither skeletons. So there is 8 blocks in between 2 spawners, and you would stand here on this trapdoor, push this block into your head. Because it's a glass block, it won't do any damage to me. I can even show you. Game mode 0, you can see, no damage. And the wither skeletons spawn around me. And even if you, because I have the glass block in my head, even if you would spawn normal skeletons or blaze this around, they will not shoot you because they will not see you, since you would have the block in your head. Because I stand here on a trapdoor, I can be quite close. I can be close as possible to these spawners. The wither skeletons can spawn 1 block higher than the spawners, so they can spawn like this. So I place the trapdoor like this one here, so he will guarantee not block the wither skeletons from spawning. I can also show you with Enderman. You can see they still fit underneath this trapdoor. Therefore this little station for the player does not block any spawning attempts. This is the maximum reach for this pattern. You can see that those are just 12 spawners, But if you are on a server and you are limited, like you have only like 10 spawners available, this is the perfect scenario pretty much, because the mobs spawn from this spawner only up to here, so they don't block the spawning of the second spawner. Never, basically, because even when the mobs are falling down, they still can block the spawners. This is one of the issues when the the second design I showed you. Here you can also see it. When these spiders fall down, so for example, one spawns here. I will set again to night. One spawns like here. While he is falling down, he can, for example, block this spawner or this one, which are underneath. So this is not the optimal, basically. It's still very good, like it's still a lot better than using these clumps of spawners next to each other, and it's definitely also not optimal. This one here is basically the same thing as here, but those are 9 blocks in between these spawners. See nicely here. That is so that even when this spawner spawns a spider here, at the maximum range of it, it will still not block this one. You can see this one, the hitbox of this spider does not cross this area. This will work also for iron golems, large slime, and other mobs you could spawn with spawners. It will not work for ghasts, but they are a bit special. I won't go into detail of farming ghasts in this video, because for that you will basically use something like this one. You will have a column of spawners, and you would have like maybe 4 or maybe 8 spawning spaces around, and then have some sort of pistons that will push blocks into them, or TNT grouping to kill them, and that's really complicated and mostly unnecessary, since you're probably not going to need their drops anyway. These two designs are a bit more special, because here I assume that the limit of spawners you could use would be much higher. So for example, you could use like maybe 30 spawners or 20 spawners at least. Therefore, this pattern here, this is not perfect as this one. You can see that there is only 4 blocks between the spawners. So when this spawner creates a, for example, wither skeleton here, he will block this one. Or if there are, of course, more than one wither skeleton. But that is very, very rare. Therefore, this is only tiny bit, like maybe a 1 or 2% less efficient than this one. But you can put a lot more spawners inside of it. As you can see, this is a 7 by 7 square with 3 blocks or 3 spawners cut out in the edges. So that's 49 minus 12, that's 37 spawners you can have like this at the same time. This would be the, I would say, second step if you are on a server and you are building up your farm from scratch, and you're basically gaining more and more money to make more spawners. You would basically first try to build something like this, or even this one is probably even better, because you could then just put the spawners in between. And therefore you would still have a very high efficiency, but you could have more of them. If this is still not enough, like this is the most you can get with this kind of efficiency, then you will have to start placing them above each other. Like it's inevitable. Like you cannot get more horizontally, so you have to go vertically. And this pattern can be 4 blocks high at the complete edges around here. So these spawners here are the furthest away from the center. The ones that are closer can be much more, but you are probably not going to make more than 100 spawners anyway, since that will be very laggy, not just for your client but also for the server, and you'll probably get banned for doing that. Here I need to be a bit more creative with the mechanism to protect you from the spawned mobs, because here I also assume that you will spawn something like blazes or skeletons which can shoot you. So you will basically stand here on top of this block. This can be also a spawner underneath you, it doesn't matter. And you will use this contraption to push 2 glass blocks into you. These blocks above can be basically anything that you can push around. I just use also glass here. So now I activate it. You can see I'm inside. I'll just align myself. And you can all of the spawners around me are working, even these ones here, and I can show you that this will always work. I will move myself a bit more away from them, so not in the center, I will go a bit more away. Maybe that was a bit too much. Yeah, you can see the center of me is quite a bit further away from this corner than it's from this one, and they still spawn there. So there is some margin for error. Here you will have to replace these these blocks here. So glass might not be the best option, but if you have silk touch tools, it doesn't matter. This is just a super simple double piston extender. I just use the lever here to power the piston when it's here, and then with some delay I power the piston that is here. But when you want to go for larger mobs, so for example the spiders or the ones I mentioned, you will need a different pattern. In this case it will be more similar to the previous ones, that you will stand in between 4 spawners, like here. But as you can see, they are much closer to each other. They are 5 blocks away from each other, not 4. So this spawner here does not block the spawning attempts from this one. So the green area, as I showed you previously, that one is still available. Here I just put a bit more glass on top. This is not necessary. Here you will also stand the same way as previously. And also the reason why there I used the 2 glass blocks, not just 1, into your head, is because the mobs may spawn very close to you. So if a wither skeleton would spawn like this and you would not have the glass in your feet, basically, he will still be able to hit you. Here it's again the same scenario, so you are above the spawner, so they won't spawn close to you. So you just don't need to make yourself visible to them. this is again a 6 by 6 square with 3 blocks cut out on each corner, which is therefore a lot less than there. It's 36 minus 12, that's only 24. Here it was 37, so quite a big difference actually, and that's why it's important to know these spawning rules to be able to make these farms very compact and efficient. Here again, if you have more spawners, then just make pillars like this one out of them. Here you have a lot. Here you can use a lot more spawners because they are closer to you and you stand a bit above them. You can see me here, and when I go a bit further, it'll still all work. So that's basically it about spawners. If you have any additional questions or some designs that I might have missed or something like that, or ways to improve this, please tell me down in the comments. And for now, please like and consider subscribing to my channel. There will be many more tutorials like this and also showcases of very effective farms. Bye!